Adventures on the Sword Coast, Chapter 2. The party of 5 brave adventurers have entered the temple in the darkened Dwarven Excavation. Zurich has noticed something oozing through the south wall, and Fairfax Whitbeam sees a gelatinous substance above him. Are they about to be attacked with acid just as the dwarf prospector had been earlier? Amos the Destroyer, taking the initiative, grabs Fairfax and pulls him away from the advancing jelly-like substance above the altar, as Alexis Songblessed throws a javelin into the vile creature. Zurich advances and prepares for battle. As the creature drops down onto the altar, Zurich makes an opportunistic strike on the jelly and critically hits with his mace. Part of the jelly takes on the shape of a huge tentacle and strikes back at Zurich, but thankfully misses. Fairfax composes himself and casts Eldritch Blast, with beams of crackling energy impacting the jelly. Finally, Princess Lady Anastasia goes into a rage and moves forward to attack with her great axe. As a mighty blow hammers down on the jelly-like substance, to the party's horror, this causes it to split into 2 separate creatures. As the party is distracted by this strange turn of events, another mass of jelly advances from the south, forming 2 great tentacles which attack Amos, but thankfully they miss. The realization that they are surrounded by what appears to be orca jelly dawns on the party. In the distance, the sounds for metal and stone creaking under tremendous pressure can be heard coming from the main entrance. This does not bode well. Seeing that the attack from the princess caused the orca jelly to split into 2, Amos the Destroyer drops his great axe and grabs 2 unlit torches from his pack and bludgeons the creature with 2 solid hits. One of the new smaller orca jelly creatures attacks Princess Lady Anastasia, but misses. Meanwhile, Alexis Songblessed goes to investigate the noise from the doors at the main entrance and readies himself for any other enemies that may be approaching. Zurich swings his mace again at the other smaller orca jelly and bludgeons it to death with 2 well-aimed blows. He then turns to throw a javelin at the larger orca jelly that is attacking Amos. Fairfax Whitbeam uses his staff to cast mage armour, and a protective magic force seems to surround him as he moves away from the large creature. Unfortunately, the orca jelly notices Fairfax retreating back and opportunistically strikes him on the back as acid sprays onto his clothes. Princess continues to rage. She grabs one of her javelins and stabs at the remaining smaller jelly. She hits again and again with piercing damage until the creature is nothing but a puddle of ooze. The large orca jelly attacks Zurek, but his quick reactions allow him to attack before it hits him. Alexis Songblessed notices that the sound he heard earlier was the metal pitons holding the huge stone doors straining under their weight. He moves out of the way just as the pitons snap, and the doors snap shut, leaving him outside the temple, separated from the rest of the party. Amos the Destroyer ignites the torches he was using to bludgeon the orca jelly that attacked him, and in a shower of flame he finishes off the creature just as another orca jelly approaches the party from the north wall. Fairfax Whitbeam, remembering the magical sending stones the dwarf prospectors had given them, talks to Alexis Songblessed on the other side of the stone doors. They communicate and coordinate their efforts using the sending stones to open one of the doors, just enough to allow Alexis to gain access back into the temple. The battle continues in the temple with Zurek running across the room to attack the advancing orca jelly coming through the north wall. Fairfax casts false life on himself to temporarily heal wounds caused by the orca jelly as he retreated. Princess, still in a rage, recklessly attacks the remaining orca jelly. In a torrent of blows from her javelin, she destroys the creature. The party recover from the orca jelly onslaught and regroup at the stone entrance doors. Initially, Zurek and Amos try to dislodge one of the doors to stop them shutting again, but they are unable to use brute strength to achieve this, even with the assistance of a crowbar provided by Zurek. They finally manage to use the crowbar to wedge the door open, but it does not look as though it will hold for long. Alexis Somblest and Fairfax Whitbeam use this time to search the temple and locate two hidden doors, one in the north, another in the south. They both open these doors and peer into the corridors leading into the blackness. Zurek, returning back to the temple, finds a secret compartment in the northeast pillar. Inside is a box containing 15 gemstones and the skulls of 5 dwarves. He puts these items into his pack. Fairfax Whitbeam leads the way along the top corridor to a door and listens, but hears no sounds. Alexis Songblest opens the door, which reveals a small room with 3 stone bed frames against the eastern wall. The party investigate the room, especially behind the bed frames. Princess Lady Anastasia recalls that these were no doubt the bed chambers of the temple priests. Zurek notices some loose cement in the south wall and locates a secret door, and pushes it open to reveal another small chamber containing a stone wardrobe and 2 rotted leather vestments. Zurek moves the stone wardrobe with little effort to reveal another hidden door that opens into a passage. The east end of the passage is blocked, so Princess and Zurek spend the next 20 minutes moving rocks and boulders, while Fairfax searches the west end of the corridor. Alexis kicks down the south door to reveal another chamber that has also collapsed. Princess and Zurek continue to dig for another hour while the others in the party take the opportunity to have a rest. This allows Fairfax to heal some of his wounds received from the orca jelly. After making little progress digging with Princess, Zurek makes his way around to the south secret door and discovers another corridor. Amos recognises the symmetry of the temple layout and quickly discovers the secret door to the south of the temple room. Alexis Songblest opens the door to the south and soon discovers the matching room to the east, although somewhat collapsed. Fairfax Whitbeam confidently takes the west corridor, assuming it to lead out past the stone doors, but in his haste he puts his foot on a flagstone that depresses with a loud click. Fairfax, realising that he's triggered some sort of ancient trap, looks back at Zurek, only to see a dart fly past the Goliath en route to his location. Being quick to see the danger, Fairfax manages to dodge the dart, which appeared to be coated in a poison. Zurek proceeds down the corridor to examine the poisoned dart and carefully puts it in his pack, as it may prove to have some later use. The party discover that they can exit the Dwarven Excavation by the south secret door. As the party search the remaining rooms and corridors, Fairfax Whitbeam returns back to the 2 dwarf prospectors and tells them what has happened inside. He shows them his acid wounds and explains that there were a number of orca jelly creatures hidden around the temple that have now been killed. The party decide to leave the Dwarven Excavation and make their way onto their next location to find the gnome guard. Princess, or to be more accurate, Princess Lady Anastasia Validia Althea Amaka, skipped across to the dwarves to collect her giant pet stuffed dog, who had kindly been looking after it, much to the bemusement of the other barbarian Amos. Zurek returns the 5 dwarven skulls found in the temple to the dwarf prospectors, believing them to be of archaeological importance. The dwarves ask about any treasure that they may have discovered, but Zurek convinces them that none was found. He offers further assistance from the party if they encounter any of the creatures in the temple, and explains that the main stone doors are now closed, but a secret door to the south leads into the excavations. He makes sure he warns the dwarves of the poison dart trap activated by a pressure pad in the corridor. The party bid the dwarves farewell. As the party exits the main gate, they notice a group of 7 humanoid-sized creatures walking towards them. Amos the Destroyer hears them talking about how they wish to make this their new home and recognise the language as Orcish. He shouts out to the other party members, to arms, make ready for battle. This is a bloodthirsty orc warband." Alexis Songbless suggests using the main entrance as a choke point, but Princess Lady Anastasia and Zurek are already running forward into battle. Princess charges forward, swinging her grey axe, cutting down the lead orc in its tracks, while Zurek sees the leader of the group at the back and heads straight for him, dodging the other orc opportunistic attacks on him. Another orc moves to attack Princess as Amos runs forward to throw a javelin that hits the orc attacking Princess. A second javelin misses its target. Fairfax Whipbeam casts magic missile at the orc leader as another orc runs towards Princess and attacks with his own grey axe, causing a mighty blow on her. Strangely, a third orc near Zurek starts to recite an incantation in Orcish, but the spell, if it was a spell, does not take effect, so the orc mage attempts to move away from Zurek, who lands a solid attack of opportunity on him. The orc leader shouts out a blood-curdling chant that Amos interprets as, "Orcs are the greatest creatures in all the kingdom. We will be victorious as we are invincible." With this, the rest of the orc warband rally to attack, and then the orc warchief swings his grey axe and lands a mighty blow on Zurek, who then uses stone endurance to shrug off the injury. Screaming their leader's battle cry, another orc runs forward and lands a solid hit on Amos. Alexis Songblessed joins the fight and casts heat metal on the orc warchief, whose armour now starts to heat up, causing pain to the wearer. The final unengaged orc runs to attack Alexis and hits him with his grey axe. Alexis sings some stirring words of bardic inspiration, but sadly this does not reduce the damage of the blow from the orc. Princess continues to rage and recklessly attacks the two orcs next to her. Spinning in a circle, she appears to dance joyfully as the two orcs slump to the ground. Zurek sticks his tongue out at the orc warchief and makes his way towards the orc mage, as the leader makes an attack of opportunity but misses. As Zurek leaves combat, he lands a final hit on the orc warchief and then offloads onto the imposing figure of the orc mage. Amos the Destroyer sings twice at the orc nearest to him and causes modest damage, as Fairfax Whipbeam uses Mind Sliver at the same time. The orc collapses to the ground with the invisible psychic damage. Amos does not realise Fairfax has killed his orc opponent and looks suitably bemused. The orc mage curses Zurek, which temporarily paralyses him as the orc retreats back, at which point the orc warchief swings his grey axe at Zurek but misses, distracted by the hot painful armour he is wearing. Alexis Songbless now casts Dissonant Whispers on the orc mage, inflicting psychic damage on him and causing him to flee. The orc in combat with Alexis swings his grey axe and hits him as he focuses his magical attacks on the mage. Pressing home their advantage, Princess recklessly attacks the orc warchief, but is angry that his blood has splattered on her clothes. Zurek, still cursed, manages to lift his weapon and scores 2 solid hits on the orc leader, now bloodied and bruised after being pounded by the party's 2 fearless fighters. Amos the Destroyer chases the orc mage and hurls both of his throwing axes to slow him down, but misses. As the mage turns and, speaking Orcish, he casts Guiding Bolt. A flash of light streaks towards Amos, but luckily these deadly bolts of lightning miss their target. Fairfax casts Shocking Grasp on the remaining orc in combat with Alexis, as both the orc warchief and the mage make a hasty retreat. The remaining orc swings wildly at Fairfax and misses. Princess runs after the warchief and drops him to the ground as he runs away, while shouting at him, "Have some honour, foul orc." Meanwhile, Zurek dashes in front of the fleeing orc mage to block his path, as Amos leaps towards the mage and strikes him down with a critical hit, almost splitting him in 2. Amos looks at Zurek after killing the orc mage, as another wry smile breaks across his face. The final orc is quickly dispatched by Fairfax, who casts Shocking Grasp to put him out of his misery. The bodies are searched, but little of value is found. Alexis Songbless cuts off the head of the orc war chief in case there is a bounty for his death. Then they resume their journey to the Gnome Guard along the northern foothills of the Sword Mountains. As the party travel east, after a few hours they encounter a wagon stuck on the side of the road, with two sorrowful looking halflings gazing at a broken wheel. Conversation ensues and they appear to be wine merchants selling their wares to prospectors around the Sword Mountains. The halflings recall seeing the shadow of a dragon flying over them a couple of times in the last week as they went about their business. Now their wagon is stranded on the uneven road as one of the wheels has broken under the strain of their cargo. The party offer to assist and come up with a plan to get the halflings on their way. Amos suggests the horse is strapped to where the broken wheel was to balance the wagon. He then tries to move the animal with some difficulty into place. Princess easily holds the wagon up as Zurek straps the horse to the wagon, lashing it together in a workmanlike fashion. Fairfax inspects their handiwork. Alexis watches in bemusement. The halflings thanks the party for their assistance and bid them farewell as they carry on their way. Unfortunately, they had not travelled more than a few yards before the wagon suddenly detached from the horse, only to collapse again on the road. Princess suggests that the halflings hide the wagon and make their way back to Philandolin to get a spare wheel and return later. Zurek and Amos use their survival skills to conceal the wagon, and the halflings offer everyone a complimentary bottle of their finest wine. The halflings thank the party once again as they depart with their horse. Zurek gives them some torches to light their way as they may not arrive in Phandalin till after dark. The party carry on to the location of the Gnome Guard following the southern foothills of the Sword Mountains. Taking a long rest that evening, they awake in the morning refreshed and ready for the adventure ahead.